Yeah, that was Evan Ferguson on the hour mark with Ireland's second. Mikey Johnston on 52 minutes opened the scoring. Adamida in the 92nd minute put a sheen on the scoreboard. We mentioned pre-game that Greece had beaten Gibraltar 3-0, the Netherlands had beaten Gibraltar 3-0, France had beaten them 3-0, and now Ireland have repeated the trick. Stuey Byrne was on commentary alongside Nathan. Game of two halves.
Yeah.
Thank God the second half was better.
Yeah, and thank God we were able to spot the issues that we were having in that first half. Frustrating that we had to wait till half time to do that, but let's take the positive first. Acknowledge there was a big issue in the first half, just couldn't break that Gibraltar team down. But playing against what it was a very, very basic international team, probably I agree with you, probably the poorest team I've ever seen come here. I won't go into too much detail, but they were awful, to be quite honest. So very frustrating that we couldn't, in the first half, kind of notice that and see that we were being a little bit too predictable, constantly going down the wings, just pulling back predictable crosses into areas where there was anything from 5-6 white shorts just constantly blocking it. You don't mind trying that early on, but when it just becomes monotonous and predictable, you need to change something, so as the first half went on, it got very frustrating, and
I thought that dynamic in the first half was also frustrating because there were 4, sometimes 5, sometimes even 6 Irish players in the box, which on the face of it is attacking and trying to do the right thing, but they seemed to arrive so early that they were all just stationary in the box. Nobody was arriving late or timing a run. There was a degree of, look at us, we're all in the box and you guys have loads of space in the two flanks, we'll just wait for you to cross it in.
Yeah.
So not many players were attacking the ball, and it was just a very stagnant
that comes from
result.
the fact when you're constantly just rotating the ball left, central, right, central, left, players just park themselves in the middle, and even the attacking Irish players are parked in there in the middle. Ultimately you want to be able to come onto the ball as you break, get in behind the defence. So what you got to do in those situations, you got to have players in your team that can get on it centrally and probe balls centrally. We spoke about it at half time, and we spoke about Wes Houlihan, the likes of a Jack Byrne or whatever the case may be. Try and bang it into Evan Ferguson, bang it into Obafemi, and draw those players that are static, the defenders, draw them out of their position, and it's not what they're expecting, and everything else is predictable, and you're getting really frustrated looking at this. I mean, we're speaking at half time. You got to have players in the pitch that can notice this and need to demand that of either of themselves or of somebody else, or maybe the skipper of the team get on to Josh Crunn and say, Josh, bang a few into Evan, and you could see that Evan Ferguson loves to do that. He loves to come deep and get on it and get turned.
Did it in the second half,
but he didn't know when to do it in the first, because he doesn't know when the ball's coming to him. He'll take it all day, but he doesn't know when he's going to get it.
That point you make about demanding it of each other.
Yeah, I mean, some teams have it subliminally, like they're on the same page, right? They work with each other's. Man City, all the top teams, Barcelona, blah blah blah. They know when it's coming. But sometimes, you have to you just have to get a bit aggressive with each other. You don't have to shout. Just saying, give it to me. I want to hear. Yeah. Or if you're the player in the ball, saying, I want you there, get in there.
You think we're a bit quiet, a bit passive?
We're just a bit quiet, Now, credit where it's due. It came at half time, right? And it changed, and all of a sudden Mikey Johnson comes on and bang, he's through the middle and everything is happening. We get our 2 goals within 10-12 minutes, and fair enough, but we're playing Gibraltar, Joe. They're awful.
They were shocking. They were the worst side I've seen at the
They're awful. That's like a game you'd see behind closed doors where you have no game to play and you decide to play a lesser team, and it just needs to be better, more aggressive, and just a little bit more inventive,
Yeah. So, slightly bigger picture, on the back of Athens, I think certainly a fair quotient of people are turning, if they haven't quite turned, against Stephen Kenny. They felt he was tactically outmaneuvered. They felt 3.5 years into his tenure and a lot of leeway given and a lot of patience, new players brought in, given caps, that to be here in a Euros qualifier 3.5 years in and producing that in what was like the pivotal game of the campaign just wasn't good enough on a whole host of fronts, and so that mood is bubbling. I suspect you would advocate Stephen Kenny still very much being in charge in September for the trip to Paris and the Netherlands here in Dublin, and go from there. But you sense the pressure that he's under. I'm sure you're talking to people.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you couldn't but avoid it after Friday's games, no doubt about it. I mean, I admit I was probably caught a little bit surprised by the backlash, but it's very hard to defend when you know, when you look, when you take into consideration the performance. And I mean, look, not a huge amount has changed tonight. A bit better second half, but we've had of the 180 minutes of football. You know, we've had 45. I wouldn't say 45. Probably had maybe 20 decent minutes of football.
Tonight is only decisive if Ireland had lost, or if they had won 10-0 and played the best football we've ever seen. Tonight changes nothing. Really, it's to what extent you read into Athens. So, where are you on the Athens spectrum?
I think tactically we got it wrong. Tactically we got it wrong. I couldn't figure out what way we were playing first 10 minutes, especially when you what really frustrated me. You got Adamida, Ferguson up front, two up top, and I see the likes of Josh Cullen or Jason Malumbi closing down a fullback, and that you got 3 or 4 players out of the game all of a sudden, and then you've got Smallbone has to come in central then to cover the holes, and Greaves are just coming out. This is first 5 minutes. I don't get that. I don't understand that. You're away from home playing against a top team. You know, the basics are the basics. You got to earn the right to get yourself into a game. You got to make sure you don't do that silly first 15-20 minutes. Grow into the game. All the stereotypes, they exist for a reason, because they're true. You know, so I don't know where that's gone wrong, but there's no doubt about it. Got it completely wrong.
Didn't change it overly quickly either. Waited till half time. Ireland were lucky to be 1-0. Could have been 3-4-1 down.
Yeah, I think the confidence might have been hit then, might have been rocked, because to be fair to Greece, Joe, they smelled blood, you know, and as soon as they sensed, I think it was 5th, 6th minute, these aren't at it, and they just went through the gears, didn't they, and squeezed us, put us under pressure, and we struggled with that, like, you know. So we under Stephen's management, what we've benefited from his personality with younger players, and bringing through younger players and giving younger players the confidence. We've lost maybe aggression and the ability for players to maybe be a little bit more intuitive on the pitch, sense when things aren't happening. Maybe, you know, he's not a roaring and shouter. I don't see him down there roaring and shouting instructions and trying to, you know, change or getting onto a particular play and say, get us doing this, whatever the case may be. So what we've gained in what his attributes are as a manager, we've lost other stuff as well, and I'm uncomfortable with what we've lost. I like aggression. I don't mean aggression in going out and smashing somebody. I mean aggression in terms of just being assertive with your teammate and saying, need more out of you, or sometimes players need to do that to get more out of themselves. And
you think that stems from him as opposed to just the natural personality?
I think that's an effect of his management style. I do, yeah. I don't think he likes that as a manager. And it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to, you know. Obviously, it's nearly gone out of our game now, but you need a bit of that.
So I'm sensing you think we're a little bit too nice to play against.
We're too nice to each other. We're too nice to each other. I mean, even the silly goals we've conceded in some of the various games here, it's you know, you don't see any reaction from the players going. Maybe Seamus Coleman, you see it from Seamus, Seamus, and you know, James McLean, you would have seen it from maybe, but it's going out of the game. And I keep hearing this, it's different. It's not different. You know, you go look at all the top players, top teams. They're all having a go at each other. Well, you know, it's not meant to be hurtful, or it's meant to.
Get the best out of each other.
It gives you that 10% that you need, that edge. You just need that edge sometimes.
That Ireland, in particular, have thrived on.
I think we need aggression in our game, you know, because we're not the best quality team in the world. Yeah. We're not the best passing team in the world, even though we're talking about being a passive football. Fine, we're getting there. We're a long way off.
Yeah.
We need to get more aggression back into our game again. We need to fill those gaps.
Yeah, not least the next 2 games against France and the Netherlands. We're pretty much out of time. Stewie, me and you, let's always be nice to each other. That said,
So,
less aggression out of you.
Just keep it a good side.
Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thanks, Joe,
Appreciate it.